Okay, hello everyone, last video for speedrunning, apart from the results video. At the point of recording this is literally the day after this was submitted. We should be getting the results anytime soon. Gates of Ascension, oh boy. So where to start? Everything that I tried up until this point, you've seen me go in raw firepower, you've seen me do a mix of firepower and speed, and then all in on a crazy RNG build with melee that could potentially have hurt my hands. Which ended up kind of pushing them to the limits at one point. But yeah, you've seen me run everything else up until now, and going into Gates of Ascension, I knew that this wasn't going to be easy, so I thought I would try the previous builds, thinking, oh, that'll work. But Gates of Ascension isn't as easy as it first looks. It is a boss rush challenge, where you have to beat at least, I think, 5 bosses from the entire game. The only difference is they seem to have been significantly buffed in this, and it's annoying. You have to get boss skips, you have to do as much damage as possible, and you have to know the bosses really well to predict what they're going to do and what's going to happen, and yeah, I was not ready for that. It took a lot of looking again through previous builds and looking through the node system. Again, I'm not familiar with the node system in this game that well. You'd think after playing it for like a year or more since like the demo originally came out on Steam that I'd be familiar with this. But to be honest, my whole thing going into this was just numbers go high, Dave kills a lot of things, and that was what I have always thought with a lot of my builds. You know, I've not really messed around with nodes too much. But going into this competition had really sort of changed things for me, where especially the third one where I played RNG and it actually worked, I had to look more at the nodes, and for this it was just a case of how much can I maximize my firepower and still keep a bit of speed, and we went all in on range again. But I started experimenting more with different weapons. We previously ran Echo and Nuke and some Photons, and not really used the nukes that much, if at all. Photons you saw me use in the first one on the boss, because I thought initially they do a lot of damage. That's what they seem to do initially when you're first using them, at least in 0.86. They don't, however, do as much damage as the slash funnels, which I'll show you here, or the slash bits. So yeah, there were multiple runs of this. I still have them recorded at the point of doing this, where it's like 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes. And this is where I was getting really stressed, because I wanted to end this as well as possible, just to remove any risk of potentially falling behind everybody else. And this is where we're going to go into the nodes a little bit here. So what we've got for this setup is very similar to my previous setups. We have engine with as much acceleration as possible. We have the operating system set up so it gives me as much raw firepower as possible, which is evident with the 3.4k piercing damage and plasma, and then 1000 accuracy, which will help loads for my plasma build. Especially because I just love plasma autos. But then we switched it up here a little bit. Previously we'd used Thorn Whip, which gives you more buff on range stuff, but also lowers your fuel burn rate. Oh, sorry, increases it so you don't move around as much. Or if you do, you run out of fuel real fast. And the rest of these are all tuned for maximum DPS. Now what it does is, Phantom Gear, whenever you end a boost, if I remember rightly, ups your attack by, I think, about 10-15%. Support Energy Relay and Overheated Shooters work for plasma weapons and give them a buff. Gravitation Defier, if I remember rightly, drops your overall durability but increases your attack. And Dueling Armor, when you are not surrounded by enemies, when there's only like a couple of you, depending on what range the enemy is away from you, you gain a 10% buff to, I think it's either a 10 or a 15% buff to your damage. So the idea is just try and stay away from stuff or kill it really quickly, and use all of these things, all these buffs, to try and maximize firepower while also surviving bosses. Now, another tweak that I've quickly glossed over, because I just wanted to get these menus out of the way at the beginning of all these recordings. Another tweak that I did was when I was running this over and over and over again, let's see if we can show you how many had ran up until this point. where we are here. There we go. So at this point of getting this time, and I got this time twice out of over 100 runs, it says up until this point I've played 80 times, completed it 13, failed 13, continued 35, restarted 4 and aborted 65. So the majority of my runs are absolutely trash here, or I've aborted them as a result. This run wasn't so much RNG on the builds part, it was RNG on the bosses, because the bosses have some interesting sort of setups, and the way that I changed things was I experimented a lot with different missiles, different weapons. I tried going all Gatling guns and rocket launchers at one point, or detonators, and instead what we've done is we've gone for slash orbital weapons here. And the reason why is because I can keybind them. As you see here, I'm slashing away like mad. We can keybind them to the X button on an Xbox controller, or I think it's the square on a PlayStation controller. We can keybind them there because that's reload. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. We can keybind them to reload, which I think doesn't affect my controls at all. It doesn't interfere and prove to be a problem, because part of the rules was not keybinding like 2 attacks to the same thing, I think it was. But the idea is I'm using range to get that constant firepower that I've had in previous levels, like the Icy Investigation and the second level Crater Crashes. We want raw firepower almost all the time going into this, and that was the only thing I could come up with. That was the only thing that I knew up until this point, apart from, you know, the power and speed mix, which was pure RNG with the other one. But not even that worked from the oil rig on this, as well as just going all in, raw firepower. And then when I experimented with the energy launchers, or orbital weapons as I call them, I found that the slash ones do a lot of damage to both stamina and health. So my idea was just to go risk and reward by going close combat, spraying constantly, and slashing away like a madman and dropping some nukes here and there. Now what you're going to see me perform is a skip here for the boss. I didn't manage to do this consistently in this run, but what happens is, the title's in the way a little bit. When you get the enemy on, this first enemy anyway, is the easiest skip. When you get him to roughly about here on the encounter text, with his stamina and on low health, all these bosses, when they're on like a half health, immediately trigger into an invulnerable state, where they then perform a large attack, which takes about 10 seconds longer to deal with them at minimum. Normally these attacks are very devastating as well, so you're more prone to taking a lot of damage, whereas now, by getting him to half health and triggering his stagger gauge, or at least to the point where he's in this invulnerable state, it completely skips him, allows you to get him in stagger again, and then as a result, because he's staggered, he takes more damage, so we can just slash and shoot away at him and skip that first boss fight. Now, originally, without that skip, it would take me up to like 50 seconds to beat him. The second one was a little bit harder. I don't know whether I've done it in this video or another recording when I was trying to skip this one as well. But you can get lucky and skip this guy doing something similar. I did drop some nukes on him at one point and that helped. But this guy, he moves around a lot and he tracks your movement when he moves himself. So you got to be really careful. If you don't trigger his skip, he does this, where he constantly like shoots these fireballs at you and fills up the entire arena. So the best way to try and, instead of skipping to try and make back some time from that, was to get him as low on his gauge as possible, so that the moment he becomes weak again, we can then set him up and kill him real quick. With this guy, I went all in guns blazing. I could not find a skip for this guy. A load of other people have said these skips are well documented. If they are, I'm just too lazy and couldn't find them. But I was trying to do the same thing of getting them down to the end of the bar and then triggering the skip. And yeah, I went in too hard on this one, thus triggering his invulnerability. This guy flies around the arena lots and takes off your shield if he touches you. So it's annoying. He flies all over the place. The only thing I could figure out to do was get him to do this, get him as close to the edge of the arena as possible, and close to me, and then just go all in on him with both nukes and the slash, and then obviously just spraying him. So he's gone. At this point, I need some ammo though. We're on 2 minutes. and we're up against a double boss fight now with one of the easiest bosses and one of the more annoying bosses, this Triceratops looking rhino thing. He has a giant shield, I think a little bit more durability. He can regenerate his shield, and he fires giant laser beams that do a lot of damage. And the other guy is actually from the first stage of this fight as well, but they nerf him slightly so he doesn't do his invulnerability phase thing, or at least I don't think so. But he can be annoying because they both attack in straight lines, and then whereas the Triceratops one just stomps around the area, he actually does a little stomp and then also fires balls of energy everywhere. So it's really annoying. The idea is trying not to get caught between them. As you can see, I got lucky with this. The Triceratops guy we already had on pretty low health. He ran next to me and got iced pretty fast. And as I was getting him, the other guy runs in and gets iced as well. So we're on the last bit now. The last bit is frustrating. We're on 3 minutes. We need to get a good time. As you can see by the title here, 3 minutes 46. So I've got to beat this last boss in 46 seconds. And the whole point of the last boss is it's like a giant flying thing. It sets up an invulnerability crystal that you see in single player, so you can't attack it until you beat this crystal. So it's a case of finding the crystal, destroying it, and killing the boss. I couldn't figure out a skip because at this point I was just seeing red. I just wanted this over and done with and to get a good time. So it was a case of going all in and trying to ice him again as quickly as possible with what I had, and not really caring about the skip at this point, which is sad to say. I just wanted under 4 minutes because everybody who was competing at this point in time had been saying, 4 minutes or under is going to be really good. The average person is going to get around 4 minutes, so I wanted to try and have the best possible shot at this. So of course I'm going all in. I've got spur nukes, I've still got slash launchers, I've got loads of energy auto still. The problem is now he's spending all his time flying around the arena shooting balls of energy at me, so me with pretty low energy, I'm freaking out here, just like, oh no, if I use up too much, I'm gone. We use slash to defeat that energy crystal real fast, and then it's just a case of swinging around like an absolute madman and hoping we take him out. We managed to do a lot of damage there and get him down. His stagger gauge is gone, and bam, there we go, he's gone. But yeah, couldn't find any skips for that because at this point I was super stressed. I just wanted a good time. I ran this level, I think, over 100 times again, and I still couldn't get better than 346. I previously ran this level. If you've been around the channel long enough, you'll know I've ran this level with my Gundam builds as kind of just a thing to see whether they can beat the bosses, and I've never got close this time, I don't think. This was really awkward, and the last point in the competition, so it was incredibly stressful as well, and yeah, it took a lot of experimentation and a lot of practice to get, especially noticing the skips on the bosses. Like, people are sat there in chat going, yeah, by the way, this is the Discord mass builder chat that I'm on about. People are in the Discord turning around and being like, yeah, so these boss skips are easy, and I'm sat there thinking I don't know what these skips are, until I eventually just start messing around with them. I start trying to mess around with the stamina gauge and try to do different things with the missiles and the slash energy launchers, whatever you want to call them. And yeah, eventually I found a skip that helped shave off, I think it's about 10 seconds or something. But apart from that, all my other times were like over 4 minutes, and even worse with like other builds that I'd got. I tried running an all melee build, but that didn't seemingly work for me. Like I said, I tried my RNG build, I tried my original range build, I tried the one from Crater Crashes. It did not work, so at this point, super stressed out, Didn't want it to be stressful. I just wanted to try and shave off as much time as I can and get a sub 4, because apparently sub 4 was really hard to get. At this point in time of recording, I don't know what everybody else's results will be, or what the final results for the competition will be, or where I've placed. There will be a follow-up video for that. I'm just hoping I get somewhere decent, in like the top 3. The guy that has taken all first place so far is apparently Japanese and has shaved off massive amounts of time, so it'll be fun to see what he did in his videos, and maybe look at some of the other competitions videos in future. But oh boy, yeah, it was stressful, but thankfully this is over now, and I can go back to normal of just relaxing and building. So, thank you very much everyone, I hope you've enjoyed. I'll see you on the next one when we go over the results, and yeah, thank you very much for sticking around with me. Until next one, bye!